All right. Well, yeah, we are live. What's going on, everybody? Yeah, a little bit of slow internet there. I was trying to get this broadcast reloaded. It just kept on getting stalled out, and then the internet wasn't loading, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So let me get this tweeted out here. All right. Well, first of all, I just want to, hope everybody had a blessed weekend, and I just want to thank everybody for all the new subscribers for jumping on the newsletter. I think it was really awesome. Again, if you want to, you can subscribe at positive-trends.com/newsletter.html. The link is in the description. Thanks for all the new subscribers. I think the newsletter is really awesome. There's a private video that we did too, which gets into a little bit more detail on some stocks that are out there that look really interesting. We've got a trade in the week in there, which is really exciting, and then there's for a limited time a free alert service going on. So I think everybody will really love that. So that being said, let's get on with today's review. So wow, the future is really surprising. Let me well, I mean, I guess nothing's really surprising, right? It's going to do what it's going to do. So, but we, big news on the no collusion news. We gap up on the S&P futures, pushes really fast, right? So it looks like it was just going to possibly launch and get out of the this 5-minute cloud here, and really nothing happened yet. Then it went inside, kind of held this level right here, and then this was kind of a major level on the ES in the past. It's kind of 2810 kind of range, 2010, 2011. So it chopped around there for a little while, and then finally you can see here, just sort of like the S&P had this death cross on the 510 MA, and then boom, just went way down. Thought it might hold this level here for a little bit, and then finally tagged. This here represents major volumetric support, and then finally bounced off of that. So now we've got a gold cross here going on. So we'll see. It's got cloud resistance up ahead of it. So I mean, who knows? It might get all the way back to, where is this, kind of this 2807-ish area, 2708, 2808, and so who knows? We might open flat in the morning. You never know. So, or it could just chop around here and retest lows again, and then just kind of end up a little bit lower, whatever the case is. So, should make the markets pretty interesting tomorrow. So, was expecting some crazy rally here, but we might get some follow through on Monday, because it was from Friday, because on Friday we had the huge push down in the morning, chop up back into the cloud, and then back down again, and so that caught a lot of people off guard, I think, and we were we were tweeting out intraday on the SPX that the internals that we looked at all last week kind of indicated that everything was going poorly, right? So, or well, to the downside, if you want to look at it, right? So we had the vol SPD was the was your S&P volume, the up volume minus the down volume, right? And so remember the day before we had this like crazy follow through, right, to the upside after Fed day, right? Fed was like way down. And then we had this almost mechanical, right, algorithmic push all day, volume-wise. And then we had the complete mirror opposite on Friday, right, all the way to the downside. So, so it wouldn't be surprised to get some sort of follow through to the downside as well. So, so that was basically that. And then what was really interesting, what I wanted to point out too, is the way that the put call ratio is. And remember when we discussed this, we sure everybody's here. Oh, hey Shirley, what's going on? I was just making sure everything was going live. Oh, it's so good to see you. You were gone all last week, so hopefully everything's okay. I'll tune back in and check out the comments in a little bit. But yeah, so so the CPCI. So remember, this is the contra indicator, right, for a contrarian indicator for basically what we would expect, right, in the markets. And so because your puts, that shows kind of bearish sentiment, but it pretty much tracks like what retail is doing and thinking, right? And so originally, right, at the we kind of ignore the open a little bit. Let's see, yep, so we kind of ignore the open a little bit, and then here, right, it was kind of bearish in the morning, and then when the market was going down, this was going down too. So it was kind of crazy, right? So everybody's trying, and what that is everybody's trying to buy the dip, right? They kept on trying to buy the dip, and then they were still kind of a little skittish throughout the day, and then they started getting a little bit bearish right towards the close, right? People were buying more puts into the close. So, but it was still below 1. See this level here, this key level here of level 1, never got above 1 after that huge down move, which means everyone's trying to buy the dip. So if everybody's trying to buy the dip, right, what's the market going to do the next day, right? It's gonna it's going to probably teach them a little lesson, right? So that's why we're probably see the futures down a little bit here. So it's probably digesting some of this news a little differently too. Probably a little timid, right? There might be some more, the news isn't over yet, right? Whatever the case is. So so cool. So that was that's a quick review of Friday. Real quick review SPX. Okay, so quick review of SPX. So we had kind of took out a lot of the stuff. Let me get my there we go. Let's make it a little more messy for everybody. So, but anyway, so in fact, it was actually cleaner without all that. So just kind of quick description here. So we had that push down, right? Right, 1, 2, 3 tests of this level here, right? Shoot to the downside, and then what do we do here, right? We push through, right, all these levels, and everything's looking great. What's it doing is retesting this support level right here. So now the real question is it going to hold that support and then work its way back up to all-time highs, or is it going to break down further and maybe go after this pivot right here? There's a couple gaps below, so so watch out below there. So that's kind of a review of the SPX. So digging a little bit deeper in the SPX comes to today's lesson, right? So technical lesson. So what I want to talk about today is the pivot points. And a good way to look at, you can use this on any stock or any index, but I really like to use it on the heaviest traded one. So the S&P index is really big, plus it's fun to trade with options, right? You can make big bucks if you catch the right direction on it, right? So what I want to do is show you, let me pull up the window here with Investopedia, because I just want to show you the formulas real quick, so you don't have to bear with me trying to type those in. So let me get that. Let's see. 1 second. Chrome, game plan, positive trends, pivots. Somewhere here is, there we go, boom. Okay, so I'm going to try to make this bigger for everybody. Okay, so here's Investopedia. So what I want to do real quick is just kind of review the formula. So pivot points, right? Basically, floor traders use these, okay, to determine key levels to hold, right, as resistance and support, okay. And so you have basically the way it's coded. Your P is your pivot point, right? So that's kind of your main, and it just uses the highs and the lows of the prior day or the prior week, okay. So the pivot point is high plus low plus close divided by 3, okay. So that gives you your pivot point level. Sort of that's your kind of midpoint kind of level, right? And then you have R1, 2. This only shows R1 and 2, but there's also an R3 calculation. But here R1 is equal to P times 2 minus low. R2 is equal to P plus high minus low. And then your support, right? S1 and S2, P times 2 minus the high. And then S2 is P minus the high minus the low. Okay, and then basically it's pretty simple. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say it's simple, but let me go and remove this screen here so we can go back to our chart. Okay, and so what I want to show you, these were the pivot levels for let me remove this too, give me 1 second. Edit studies, and then just remove the momentum there. Okay, cool. All right, so this gives a little bit of a better picture for it. So so this was the S&P on Friday, right? Pretty nasty. And so these are the levels that are loaded in there. And just keep in mind, if you're a subscriber to the newsletter, I will send this out and tweet this in the private Twitter every day for what the new levels are. So if you're trading the SPX, you can have those levels delivered right to you. But anyway, right here, so we gapped down on Friday. We had a great trade trading the 60 anchor on NVIDIA. Like we traded live right at the open. We traded the 60 anchor on NVIDIA to the upside. And it looked like the markets were going to try to fill the gap, right? So it's a decent trade. But if we kind of zoom in a little bit, just kind of as a recap of the day, right? We had this inside bar, so it looked like it was taking that to the upside here, and instead it kept this cloud, right? This is your 5-minute cloud as resistance, and then put in this key reversal bar right here. That was a signal to get out, right? So remember, don't be stubborn in trades, right? So if anything, it was good just to kind of switch, possibly go to the downside, but obviously gap fills are, kind of something to look for, but this is not what the market wanted to do. But look what level it was at right here. Okay, so this is really key, this yellow line right here. So this is your daily, that's your midpoint, right? That's your daily pivot level, and we gapped right down to it. So The question was, at the open, we had a nice bottoming tail right here, a nice bottom tail on this spinning top. And so it looked like it was possible that it might be defending this, the floor traders might be defending this and trying to push up, but it couldn't hold this resistance. One key thing to notice, right, we like to look at the 5 MA and the 10 MA. The 5 is the big green one, the yellow is the 10, okay? And see how it was below the 10 the entire time? That basically means, other than trying to do that gap fade, right, there's really no reason to be long, right, especially once it got below the cloud here and below this daily pivot level. And so what happened was it broke through the monthly R1, pretty solid. That means it's probably going to go lower, right? If it doesn't pause at one of these levels, right, chances are you're going to get a continuation. If it's above it, right, that's bullish. You might try to go that way. So you just combine your other tools with it, right? So like your moving averages, your clouds, things like that, and look for opportunities to trade one way or another. So let's see what happens. So obviously that pushed right through this level, so that's going to be bad. So your next target, right, is 28.32. Okay, so it hit that target, went through it, right? That means that's no good, right? So next target is here. Okay, cool. So what did it do? It defended. This is your S1 level. That's your support 1 level, right? Just using those calculations, okay? And you just do it every day for the dailies. You do it every week for the weeklies. So this week, the newsletter, subscribers get both the weekly and the daily, right? So you have this here. So you have your hammer in, right? Then it kind of put in a key reversal shooting star, but still defended this level, and then boom, big green level. Now you don't have to go long here, right, at this point, because your MA is below your 10, but still it's a nice move to the upside. And then because of the intensity of this move down, we drew a bear flag right here, okay, and then continued, right, broke down here, so a nice little move there. Still held this line, right. Now granted, the green, right, the 5 MA was over the 10, but it wasn't a huge steep move. It was more kind of flat, so more downside to go, right? Boom, put this red bar right through the S1 line again, right? No defense, so that means next target is here, right? Well, this here, and this is what I'm going to show you today, is the volumetric level. Okay, so these blue lines that I have here are volumetric levels, and I also include those for subscribers too. So, but just to show you how we do it, I go to the SPY, okay, and then everybody knows, we like to look at the volume profiles because that gives us volumetric levels, right? And so the volume profile is, all this stuff here. Okay, so these are volume with time. These are just volume, chronologically. This is showing your volume over, your volume at price levels. This is your volume at time. Sorry, this is your volume at price levels. So, so here you can see the thicker, right, those bars are, right, the more, right, the more support and resistance is there, right? There's more people positioned there, potentially with like stops and all that. That's how we get momentum moves through pivot points, right? So so we like to add those volumetric levels to our lines as well. And so Thinkorswim, wonderfully enough, provides this stuff automatically, which is great. So real quick, just to do that, you go to studies, right? Add studies. You just go here, and then you'd go, just for instance, you can go all studies alphabetical and just go volume profile right there. Okay, so volume profile, you load that in. It gives you these values automatically, right? So, but this is only the values for whatever time frame you're in. Okay, so right here is your 5-minute bar. I'm sorry, your 5-minute time frame. And then so here I've got 5 days, 5 minutes. So these levels that are automatically in here are for 5 days, 5 minutes. The farther you go out, so what I like to do is I like to do the 5-day, 5-minute because I like trading off the 5-minute time frame intraday on the SPX, right? And so this is not a perfect map over, but what I like to do is I like to get these levels. So that's 283.82 and just multiply it by 10. So that'll give you 2,000. That'll give you 28.38 and 20 cents, right? And so if we go back to the SPX, you'll see I have a level there for next week, because that's a new level. So let me switch that. So I have a volume level here at that, what was it, 20, right there, right, that 28.30, whatever it was. So it should be, yeah, 28.33, 50-ish. So I need to double check that actually, but 28.37. I have to double check those, but that's the idea, right? So you just convert it, multiply it by 10, and then carry it over onto your chart here. So what that does is, and this was from Friday, okay? What that does is it gives you levels, right, that there's a lot of volume at, right? So those are typically either defended as support or resistance as well, okay? So zooming back in and kind of looking at it, you can see here, right, we have this bear flag down. we had a pretty big shooting star move through this volumetric level, which means the next level is probably the next kind of volume area. And so that was here, right? Holds, right? Defends, but can't break through. 5 MAs below the 10, right? Back down, right? This is a push down here. Looks like the next move would be here. But by then, you've pretty much already captured all profits that you can get, right? So we had a big move here, another bear flag, chopped for a little bit, back to the downside, and then finally worked its way up, right? So you can see here it's chopping between these volumetric levels, and guess what? It's creating more volume in those areas too. So these levels are going to pretty much stay consistent over the next couple days because there's so much congestion going on in here, right? So finally got a big green bar through here, right? After a, this is a measured move, right? Big bar, pause, big bar, and then pushed all the way up to this 2818, chopped up a little bit higher, back down, death cross, right? Push down below those levels, big bar, another push down below those levels, big bar, and then finally hit the weekly, what is that? The weekly, these blue ones are the weekly 2800, that's your weekly pivot. So look at that. That's a key level, obviously, right? So that's your weekly pivot. And so that held at the end of the day and was defended, and then everybody left happy or sad for the weekend, whatever the case was. So so that is trading the pivot point levels, so your floor trader levels, and volumetric levels in a nutshell. So at this point, if anybody has any questions or comments, please put those in the chat window. Also chart requests too, and we'll be happy to go through those as well. So, and again, thanks again for all new subscribers to the newsletter. So I know you guys are gonna love it. So it's gonna get better and better. So Shirley, okay, so great to see you. Harvey, what's going on? Netfry, what's going on, buddy? Yeah, Harvey, she's back. Shirley, okay, let's see. So fell on hard times. Things have been a little rough for me. But I still watch the stream when I can to see what everybody's looking at. Okay, Shirley, cool. Well, I hope everything's okay. You're in our prayers, whatever's going on. So we definitely missed you last week, so you probably heard us. We pretty much everybody thought you were just taking a break with all your profits, and we're in Maui for the week. So, but glad to have you back. So, Patchy, what's going on, buddy? Yeah, so great question. Yes, I do use fib levels. I don't use them as much as I should just because I eventually run out of time in the day. But those Fibonacci levels, and we've talked about this before, anytime you can get confluence, right, with something, right, then that usually should give you a point of interest. So let's say here, if I just drew a Fibonacci level from here, and I'll make it like, I don't know, some bright big color so we can see it. I'll make it all, set default for all colors. I'll make it like not purple, I'll make it pink, I think. Let's see. I'll just make it that bright blue, and I'll make it like size 3. I'll just do that for now. Okay, we'll go like that. Wow, that's not as big as I'd like. All right, so I can set the color for all curves, but I can't set. All right, let me just go. Let's just go. I'll make it 5 for each one. Give me 2 seconds. You guys probably see them okay. It takes too much time. Anyway, you get the idea. So basically, if you can find confluence too, so that was your days. This is your Fibonacci, from yesterday. So anywhere you could find kind of like a match, right, is especially if they match up really well. You can find, anytime you have confluence here, right, it should be significant. So right here, when it broke through not only the monthly level, but it broke through your 50% Fibonacci, and then landed right on your 61.8 Fibonacci, right? Tried to hold it right there, and then couldn't hold it. Chances are it was going to go lower, and it did. Right, so and then anytime you get the bigger, days with that, and you can find confluence in those areas, that just shows more significance for you for when trading those levels. So, so yeah, but it's hard to trade like intraday just using Fibonacci because it's it varies right from user to user, right? So that's kind of the thing there. So, Jay Lee, do you use daily and weekly highs and lows for pivots? Yes. So yeah, those are all calculated there. So this R1 level, this blue is your weekly levels, and then the green is the monthly levels. So yeah, those are all included. And typically you get the weekly levels and the monthly levels are a little bit more significant. This showed here when it blew through that line that it really wasn't significant. But here, your weekly pivot, right, ended up being the final support of the day for the SPX. So so yeah, definitely. Where would you connect them to find resistance and support levels intraday? Yeah, so Apache, obviously intraday, I mean, if you really wanted to, for instance, you could do, like here, it was a big move down and it paused, right? So what you could do is you could do an extension, right? So you do from your from your high to the low of that move, and then extend it up here, and then look for other areas, right, of support and resistance. And so without going through and coloring those, right, you can kind of see, right, it held the 61.8 extension, right, and then the 78.6 it held, right. Then it came down. The 100 was kind of out there. It wasn't really compensated, so it blew through that. And look at that, it hit the 161.8 and held that for a little bit. I mean, but not super tradable, right? But you can use those intraday. You can use the extension just to kind of give you levels. If you guys, I'm sure a lot of you guys follow PRHK2. Like he does a lot of those too with like earnings, and he does like the 5-minute. Like so he'll do, something like here, and then go back to the 5, and then maybe however he does the extension there. So maybe he goes back up and then just does the so your extension here. So you had the base here where it broke, base here, where the first 5-minute bar went, and then your 161 is a potential area of interest, right? Again, the 261.8 is a potential area, which you can see that's where the bear flag was, and then finally here this one too has served as pretty good stuff too. So that's another thing you can do, is you can do it from your gap where you were to where you gap down, take the bottom of each of those bars, and then extend those posts. There's a lot of different techniques that you can use. There's no right or wrong way to do it, but anytime you can find confluence with the way that you are doing with other key levels, whether it's a moving average or whether it's a pivot point or a volumetric level, then those become more significant, and you should take note of those. So yeah. Surely, all right, let's go. Yeah, well, it seems like you've saved up a lot of stock ideas for this week, so good. Let's take a look. Yeah, so KO is great, right? It's a good defensive stock and to look at. So let's go and just kind of pull up the daily here. All right, so let's take a look. All right, so KO, yeah, big congestion zone that it's in right now, right? And it makes sense too because there's volumetric level right here. So yes, I think a break over that 46.65 level, that's your Fibonacci level. You could definitely get to 47 and beyond, and I think that's good. You get good levels there. And everybody who's new, Shirley always puts in finds some great stocks and has some great targets. So definitely worth studying because she can capture some huge moves, and she's certainly captured some in the past. Verizon, really nice little 2B reversal right here, which happened to basically correspond with your volumetric level. So nice breakdown, retest, and then back up. So I think you could definitely see some follow through there. TZA. Wow. Okay, so kind of looks like Head and Shoulders type style right here. Just be careful of this this kind of 11-15 volumetric level. If it can't get through there, it might come back down and test the those lows there. TLT. Huge push the other day. So yes, I think your levels are good. Definitely has some upside. Certainly to the 127 area. Possibly, yeah, and that 127 would be a volumetric break. So for a swing trade, I think you could see some higher movement. KHC. Wow, they've just been hanging out there, haven't they? Well, we had that bear flag, right, and it broke down and kind of hung out below that volumetric level there. I'm just trying to see if I can. I mean, it's just wild. All the way from 100 to 30 bucks, whatever it is. I mean, it's just pretty amazing though. It held this Fibonacci kind of downward triangle area. It looked like it was ready to kind of go up that way, and then just got crushed. So yeah, I think if you get a breakout though, I mean, it certainly could be good. HIBB. Very good. Seems to be following the who's it? The bonds. So very good. Yep, it's in this Fibonacci level, so it could work its way up. 28. That 28 level looks pretty key for breakout. Very nice. Net fry. IEF. That is a superb break right there. It got through volumetric resistance. So a bit of a cup and handle here, right? That was your level. Your first break was at 104. That brought you all the way up to 106. Now if it holds here, you've got some nice pivots to take out. You got that 107, you got that 108 too. So that looks pretty good. AEP. Boom. Wow. Super solid. I think you've been tracking this one for a while too, so congratulations on this. Looks like you got a channel forming up here, so just keep an eye out there, right? So if it doesn't break those levels to new highs, it might come back right to those kind of 79 levels. So just be careful of that channel up there. Jubalfood.in. I will take your word for that, Shirley. Jay Lee, with those pivots, how would you plan a trade for both bull and bear case for tomorrow? So great question, Jay Lee. So let's go back to SPX real quick. All right, so now, for some reason it didn't save my pivots, which is kind of frustrating. Okay, so this is the pivots from Friday. So this should be the pivots for Monday, and it is. Okay, so yes, these are the pivots for Monday. And I don't think any of the volumetric levels they changed maybe a little bit, but they're still pretty good. So right now, this is what it's going to look like tomorrow. Okay, this is what the pivots are going to look like for tomorrow. So right now we're under the volumetric level right here. Okay, so what I do is I go in, I look here. If we stay under, if we gap down, and we're under this 28.15, okay, that's overall bearish, right? That means we're looking for support levels. Okay, so your first support level is 27.85. Okay, and we're below this volumetric level here. So let's say we open up, let me draw, here. Let's say we open up, let's say we gap up a little bit. Let's say it holds some, ES. And you got to combine things. So you got to look and see what the futures are doing, et cetera, et cetera. But here, let's say we stay here, right? We might try to fill a little bit of a, well, there wouldn't be a gap because we're gapping down. Let's say we kind of came up a little, I just really can't see us gapping up that high. So let's say we start here, right? So we might kind of go up a little bit, right? But right now we're bearish because we're under the daily pivot, right? Kind of go down, right? Might try to rally a little bit. Right now, there's just nothing going on this level. This is all basically clear air in between here, right? So my guess is that pretty early on, it'll at least try to test this 27.85 level. Okay, so as long as that defends, right? So you look for some sort of confirmation bar or something like that. Maybe if you're watching the 5 and 10 MA, maybe it chops around here for a little bit, defends, and then finally that green crosses over the yellow, and it shows, hey, it's going to give a shot. So it might, if it did, then it could, it could push all the way back up to 28.06. Then you see how it holds there, right? Look for a big green bar, and then see if it can back to 28.15. If not, right, then it might test again. Support one level, the weekly, which it held right last time, and then if not, well, this is a new weekly over, so it's a new week, so it's a little bit lower. So let's see if it holds that. If it pushes through there, then you got S2 and below. So you look at it as like, okay, it's not guaranteed either way, but you just look for each case, right? So it just depends where you open. If you open below the daily pivot level, then you got to be a little bit bearish and look to test this for support. Then you test your weekly support, then support level 2, etc. Now you got a monthly pivot down here. So if we got down somehow for some reason 27.60, it should be defended there pretty well. And then you'd want to at least look for some sort of confirmation. Maybe even some good news comes out or something like that to see if it takes you to the upside. So that's basically how you kind of play off of them. But I don't recommend jumping into it right away. In fact, what I do recommend is using your on demand and then just picking a week, day and a month and drawing those levels out. And then just kind of watch it. You can do it in fast speed and kind of watch how SPX trades those levels and start getting used to it and kind of familiar with it in your mind. You definitely, especially with SPX, you don't want to do that right away. So you might want to start messing around with the SPY or something like that. Just kind of go light with like one option or something like that and just test out and just get used to seeing the price action in those areas. Great question. Surely RWM. Where were we? RWM. Nice. So this is good. This is a if anything's gonna go nasty, right? It's gonna be your short Russell, right? So we looked at this for a while. It got pretty bad, obviously back in December. Kind of came back and then kind of has found a little bit of support right here, right? So obviously it's the inverse of kind of the overall markets and stuff like that, but it's kind of holding this level right here. But yeah, I think if it holds the support, right, could definitely push up to that, back up to that 48 level if it really wanted to. AIV. That seems like a good safety stock, right? Apartment investment, right? So, looking good from our last pitchforks. There's kind of nice pivot here at the median line. You know, kind of pulled back a little bit, but definitely I think could work your levels there with a push up. Patchy, someone showed me 5-minute close from yesterday to today's first candle. That's right. Yeah, that's good. Yep, nice. J&J and CXO. Jeeton, thanks for bringing that up, buddy. So J&J is I was gonna tweet out like all these short setups that I saw, but it's like, okay, well if everything looks short, I mean just whatever. But this is a little nasty here for you, but it looks like it's ready, man. Uh, you know, it's a stock that deserves to go down, right? With all the nonsense that they've been doing, with you know, what are they selling Special K and you know, giving asbestos to babies and all that stuff. But I think let's see how it holds. Like kind of this level, this 136 level. It can move when it wants to, right? So if that breaks down, I mean, we're at kind of a reaction line zone, you know, pitchfork level, and it could give us a push back down to, you know, 132, which I would personally like to see, out of just for good measure, right? So yeah, so I'm definitely of a bearish sentiment on J&J, and I think the technicals are supporting that. CXO, I have no opinion on one way or another. But very interesting chart. Right away, I can see this downward trend line here. Okay, so until that breaks right to the upside, consider it in a downtrend. It's very, you know, it's very clearly right in a downtrend. One thing you could do, you could say, hey, this went to the low, so let me just go to the next, you know, kind of pivot up there. That it broke out of that downtrend recently, and now it's just kind of holding that level and working. So you basically have a triangle type formation. So at this point, just be careful, right? So you want it to get through and hold above this 112.50, and then it has to break through 115 volumetric to get back in the channel. Otherwise, it may test who knows how low, right? So it is an interesting level. This bar is really nasty from Friday, but a lot of bars are nasty, so it might just consolidate a little bit. But if it did want to push down, it could retest those lows too. So two key levels to look at here. So see if it defends or see if it breaks out. So, but right now, tough to put on a position unless I started seeing some consolidation right into here over the next, you know, into April. So maybe this 106 level, and then you might see a break, which could correspond with some earnings results. Flow. Yeah, very nice. Very nice. So nice breakout of volumetric, and I think this looks like a nice Flowers Foods. I mean, just what a nice stock. You know, just a nice sounding stock. So yeah, nice breakout there. Nice consolidation here on the fib fan line. Finally broke out of that. Broke out of volumetric. Looks bullish. So I think you've got good levels there. Yeah, Jay Lee. Hey, no problem. My pleasure. Pritesh, what's going on? Please check SPLK. SPLK is interesting. So we've been kind of checking this for a little bit. So we had this huge move down, right? Bear flag up, broke the bear flag on Friday, right? So that was one, if we were watching this thing, which we kind of were, it was working its way up the Fibonacci fan line. We drew this bear flag up, right? Nice channel up, and then broke. Look at that, right there. Perfect break to the downside. So do we get some follow through tomorrow? Maybe. Yeah. 123 potential. See how it holds that level, and then if that can't hold, then you've got your Fibonacci, 116 type thing. So personally, it could be. I mean, down, bear flag, down. So I think it's possible. But nice catch on that one. Look at this here. This as if this didn't give it away enough, right? There was a nice bearish divergence right there on RSI, right at that high, and then boom, just like that. I love seeing things after the fact, right? So, but the best thing is like the great thing is about trading is that we look at this stuff every day, we get used to these patterns, and we start to see it, and we can see it happening live before us, and then that's the key with learning and practicing one, and I say this to a lot of folks, is practicing one level at a time, or one setup at a time, until you master that setup, and then you can move on to the next one, because once you see it, and you get used to it, and you're great at it, right, and you're consistent with it over 50%, then you'd be like, oh, boom, this is setting up. I got to take this trade. This is nice, right here. It's like I see this bear flag after this perfect move down, after whatever, is it like some sort of weak guidance, whatever the case was, boom, bear flag, boom, right? So I mean, you start to get used to that. RSI divergence, that was definitely a top, right? You just start to see, things. That's why it's important to get good at one thing at a time, right? And then you can kind of build your arsenal. This way, when certain setups come up, you're just ready to take it, right, as necessary. But you always remember your risk first, right? So, because sometimes, as you know, nothing works 100% of the time, every time, and so we just have to go with the best we can and the best that we see, right, to work that. So hopefully that's a little bit helpful there. But at this point, appreciate everybody. It's after 10 o'clock, so we got Big Monday tomorrow. It should be, as usual, the market has given us an interesting day to trade. If you guys subscribe to the newsletter, one of the things I say is that 2019 is going to be a very interesting year. It should keep us pretty busy all year, right? So it need to be on our toes. So feel free to subscribe to that, right, at pivotal-trends.com/newsletter.html. But at this point, I appreciate everybody and have a good night. And I'll tweet some all the free stuff I normally do. We'll still keep doing. And and I hope that helps you and adds value to you as a trader. So have a good night, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.